Hello and welcome back to Talon 101. Let's talk about Lethal Skyrocket, as the new kids call it. Or just Frame Skyrocket, as old people call it. Or older Tekken and Hwoarang players call it, right? So to achieve this move, it's a just frame. So the inputs are forward, neutral, down, forward, 4. As you can see on the left side of the screen, and of course at the bottom. That's the only way you can input it, from left foot forward and right foot forward. However, there are slight differences here. As you can see in the right foot forward input, my DF4 came after down forward. It's supposed to be forward, neutral, down, forward, right? Forward, neutral, down, forward, 4. Now, why is that the case? I'm gonna put it up on screen. This is from the Tekken Zaibatsu. The fastest JFSR can come out is 18 frames, but the slowest it's allowed to come out is 20 frames. Now in RFF, you have a 19 frame leeway as down forward is being pressed or held in right foot forward. That's why you can get something that looks something like this. Like that's very delayed, a very delayed JFSR. That's really long. I'm not even sure if that's like 20 frames anymore. I mean, you add the 19 on top of like the slowest input, which is 20. So maybe you're throwing out a 39 frame JFSR. Maybe. But yeah, it's easier to get just Frame Skyrocket or Lethal Skyrocket in RFF simply because of that, of how RFF is built. In LFF, there is no leeway. So it's either you get it at 18, which is your fastest, or you get it at the slowest possible input, which is 20. Now, the one thing that they did change about this move is pushback. As you can see, the opponent no longer gets pushed back as they block JFSR. You stay right in front of your opponent's grill, which means they're allowed to lock you in or keep you in place. So if the opponent does opt to throw out, let's say, a fast mid, you're not backdashing that. You're stuck in place. Or if they make it even better, they throw out a homing move or a mid with a big hitbox, you can't go anywhere. So that's like the main change they have done to just Frame Skyrocket. But going back to the pushback that they made changes on it, it still kind of exists. What do I mean? It kind of exists depending on the move they do. So if we tell them to do a standing jab and we focus on like trying to get max range of JFSR, you can still punish them for that. I know my punish whiff because DF2 is a short move. But that's like mainly what you're going to be aiming for now if you're trying to get like the so-called pushback on JFSR. Of course, that's a backdash into DF2. I believe like that's mainly like the one you're gonna be doing. You're not gonna be doing off. I mean, you can do it off a sidestep. You can avoid the jab cleanly, just like that. If they're doing a jab check, same thing would probably apply to a mid check. If the mid is short, and if you can step the mid in that scenario, but we can't step Hwoarang's DF1 here, so you can only backdash it for as long as you're doing it at max range. And you gotta make sure you're inputting a backdash as well as you do it, because that's the only way to get it. That's like the only way. But again, if they do lock you in with a homing mid or a big mid that you can't escape, even at max range, you can't avoid that. I mean, that's been unchanged. It's just that, you're more stuck in place because of the lack of pushback. The other thing is they've made it a combo extender now for whatever reason. So if you do want to extend your combo in a cool way, I mean, you can. Sure, why not? That's really just to flex on your opponent by continuing a combo with JFSR. It also is a single hitting tornado, so it's like absolutely perfect at the wall. If you didn't want to do back 3 or right plasma blade or LFS of 4, or basically any other single hitting ones. If you want to do something cooler, like so, right? That is completely viable. So what makes this move very, very important for Hwoarang in neutral or even in offensive situations? It's because his other moves that do launch opponents have some specific details or intricacies. Like DF2, this is a safe mid, but this doesn't launch a croucher. So if you had the read that someone was crouching in a scenario, let's say you did LFS1 on block and then you did, DF2 because they're gonna duck, they're not even gonna down jab, they're just gonna duck, then you got nothing. Now, if you follow the same scenario and you attempt to do back 3, sure, you can get the launch because it launches someone who's crouching. However, this is -19. So if you're unsure at that moment, you lose compared to DF2, but you only get +4 on airborne. Same thing applies if you're in RFF. Let's say you did off FF3 and you're gonna do right plasma blade. Yeah, there's pushback on this, but for as long as the opponent finds their consistent punish, you're gonna get punished for it. And a good number of the cast can punish this consistently, despite the pushback. So in these scenarios, you can still get punished. And that's where JFSR comes into play. Because if the opponent is crouching in these situations, you win. I can't stress that enough. Anywhere, you would win. It's harder to open up an opponent without just Frame Skyrocket. Because you could be doing all this stuff and you'd have to hit them more, just like this. Essentially, you need to have more interactions with the opponent in order to kill them, rather than having a singular interaction and they're dead. That's the whole point why you need JFSR, why it's one of your most important mids or mid launchers in his arsenal. And not only that, but like you can just throw this out, right? So if you're doing movement, stuff like this, you can just throw it out. And that's like, it does work as keep out in that sense, because on defense, right, it should still like have the properties from 7, wherein it could potentially high crush. Let me put myself at 0.
Yeah.
There you go. You see all that? If you slow it down, you slow the video there, frame by frame, JFSR is still valuable for that reason. Then your back 3, your DF2, your right plasma blade, your back turn plasma blades, they can't do that. So practice JFSR or Lethal Skyrocket. Make sure it's in your arsenal. That way, the next time an opponent does decide to crouch or throw out a high, depending on the scenario, you win. That's all for this lesson. I've been Frontier. I'll see you all next time.